Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we are pretty much wrapping up what the Muppets were up to in 1984 as we discuss season 16 of Sesame Street. And to prepare ourselves for this discussion, we watched the season premiere, episode 1966, a best of season 16 playlist on YouTube, another episode from the season, number 2089, a music video for the song Wet Paint, and a brief collection of clips of the first time Kevin Clash ever performed Elmo.
Big watch list this week.
Big ol' watch list. Over 3 hours of Sesame Street content we watched this week.
On the upside, I know what stop signs mean. I know the number 7, I believe, was one of them, A. So I'm doing all right.
V, I think, might have been in there as well. You don't hear about V very often. But before we get to that, I wanted to share a nice little 5-star review we had on iTunes from a username that is RRFVGBHNMIJH. So thanks to your cat for walking across your keyboard when Apple asked for your username. But the review is titled, Lovely Conversation We're Invited Into.
Oh.
And the review says, I feel like I'm sitting in a living room with Sam and Matthew just chatting about the Muppets. I've been listening since it started and really love the content. I've learned a lot and it just makes me so happy.
That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to think about it, sitting in a living room. Well, thank you for the nice review.
Thank you, Fish.
Do you think people like that, they like know their usernames? Or is that just like really just a thing where you're like, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, I mean, unless maybe somebody created this account just to leave us a nice review, which is appreciated. But if there's ever some sort of issue where they have to log back in, oh boy.
They're in trouble.
I hope they have LastPass installed because you're never going to remember that combination of letters unless it's like the first initial of every member of their family in descending age order or something. But yeah, I like to read those reviews from time to time in the podcast. So, if you want to leave a review on probably Apple Podcasts, it's hard to find. Where,
not really sure how to look at reviews of on other platforms.
And if you're in other countries, sometimes Apple doesn't show us those. Like they only show us the American reviews. So yeah, you can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you have just, thoughts, questions, comments about the podcast. And we'll read some of those on the podcast occasionally as well. But I did mention at the top of the show today, Sam, we are pretty much wrapping up 1984. I say pretty much because the first episode of Fraggle Rock that we'll be talking about next week is the Bells of Fraggle Rock, which went up on Christmas Eve.
Oh, is it a Christmas episode?
I believe it is.
Okay.
I feel like it's one of those big episodes of Fraggle Rock that everyone talks about. The title is familiar to me, but obviously since we haven't watched it, I don't actually know. But in wrapping up 1984, I just want to talk a little bit about, what you thought of this year of Muppets.
Oh, boy. Let me look at our big old spreadsheet.
Well, yeah, I can refresh your memory a little bit, too. We had Fraggle Rock Season 2, The Muppets Take Manhattan, the start of Muppet Babies, and the Henson's Place documentary, which are sort of the biggest pillars of 1984.
One thing that struck me when we were watching the Sesame Street stuff is it's kind of weird that Sesame Street is, again, your primary source for Kermit the Frog content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, aside from the occasional talk show or interview, Kermit is mostly entering your living rooms via Sesame Street these days.
I wasn't expecting to see him anymore on Sesame Street, really. Like in new stuff, especially.
Well, he's still making new stuff. And also, because they reuse clips constantly, you got to imagine kids are seeing Kermit every single day.
I think I really like this era because of Fraggle Rock specifically. Muppet, I don't know. If you're a Muppet fan and you're living in 1984, I guess it's a big time for you probably. But my least favorite of the original trilogy of movies and Muppet Babies is something I wouldn't have watched if I was alive at the time and liked the Muppets. Like if I was, old, if I was my age now,
Yeah.
then
Yes.
I wouldn't watch Muppet Babies.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
I feel like what we're finding out with this podcast is that a lot of our fellow 30-somethings who also have Muppet podcasts or are just like in the online Muppet fan community is that a lot of them also haven't watched any Muppet Babies since they were little. And some of them are saying, I'm not going to rewatch with you guys, but I will listen to you talk about it because that seems fun.
But Godspeed to you, sir.
Yeah. It's like the first piece of media I feel like that we've had people directly say, yeah, you do you.
I can't get on board with this. Which is interesting because I do feel like to a certain degree, Muppet Babies is a way that a lot of like quote unquote normies do know the Muppets.
I mean, I think that's how probably I was introduced to the Muppets as a kid outside of Sesame Street. The first time of really having strong memories of Kermit and Piggy and Gonzo was probably from Muppet Babies.
Yeah. I guess I would say it was probably for me from Muppet Show reruns on Nickelodeon or Disney Channel or whatever in particular was rerunning Muppet Show at the time. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it feels good. I think it's going to get much worse than this than 1984. So I got to, enjoy it while it's lasting.
Because of some of the things that we saw in this week's batch of Sesame Street episodes, I'm a little worried about the rest of the 80s.
That's interesting because I thought this was a particularly good batch of Sesame Street episodes.
I think it's very good. I think there are things that could turn bad. I'm speaking of the influence of hip-hop on Sesame Street and Muppets in general and the way that they're going to handle those things.
Yeah, I was certain, and certainly it is the way that they're going to handle those things.
Yes.
Because I was thinking about it when I was watching that poet guy rap. I was like, oh, rap again. And then I realized that makes me sound like I don't like rap, which is not true.
Yes, it is not that we
at all
dislike rap at all. It is more so that we don't trust.
Sometimes your 50-year-old men shouldn't be... I mean, your 50-year-old, like... white guys from the 80s shouldn't be the ones rapping.
It's been encapsulated a few times where we had the Fozzie Bear rap on the live tour thing. We had Jim rapping on the...
Specifically, I mean Frank shouldn't be rapping, basically.
But I really want footage of it happening.
I would love it, and it would also make me shrivel up and die, probably, because I think he likes doing it. That's the main thing.
Well, so I feel like there's got to be something that's a little bit freeing to do it in character.
Yeah.
If Frank Oz tried to release a hip-hop album in the 80s...
Oh, my God. He could still do it now.
I mean, he could do that. Like, Jeff Goldblum released, like, a jazz album a few years ago, and everyone's like, oh, that's kind of cool. But if Frank Oz was like, by the way, I'm releasing a hip-hop album now. I just recorded this yesterday. I mean, it would definitely interest the world.
Sure. There'd be articles about it.
Yeah. Like the nearly 80-year-old Frank Oz has just released I'm reading this for the first time here, a hip-hop album.
There would certainly be a track on it that started off, my name is Frank and I'm here to say.
Could it be called Yoda Man?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is turning into a good idea, actually.
I don't think a punny title makes for a good idea.
Oh, how close do you think in the world we have been to a Yoda rap album? Do you think someone has thought of that? Somebody sitting in their big office thought, Frank's rapped before. Everybody loves Yoda. Hip hop's huge right now. What if Yoda rapped?
Well, Sam, if this was 2001, 2002, I would open LimeWire or Kazaa and ask it Yoda rap, and I would probably get 87 MP3s of Yoda rapping about smoking weed that were titled Weird Al, Yoda weed parody.
Weird Al really got dragged through the mud in that era. Every song that was vaguely funny was Weird Al. This
is the most weirdly sounding futuristic to past us, but also the most old man conversation. It's like in that middle ground of that Venn diagram of using LimeWire and Kazaa to download music in the early 2000s, where with we knew nothing about music
Burning a
because we were young
CD.
enough to not really have any taste. And so you would just type in like a word or two into these like LimeWire, FrostWire, whatever one wasn't deleted yet, and just download everything.
Yeah.
And you'd get a mix, occasionally an actual Weird Al song, but most of the time it was some weird guy doing a Donald Duck impression talking about sexual things. And you're like,
Yeah.
I don't think
Wow.
that's Weird Al. Weird Al didn't write this many songs about weed, I don't think.
Has he ever written any songs about weed?
I think notoriously quite the clean man.
I think so too.
But
I wouldn't trade those times for the world, though. Would you?
No, because I first started getting into punk music via LimeWire and searching just sort of punk and then downloading everything, which is how I accidentally discovered Daft Punk and was like, I'm confused because this isn't punk.
You didn't even have Wikipedia to turn to.
No, I was using all my bits and bytes just to download those MP3s.
Yeah. And tying up the phone line, something terrible. I guess maybe that was after dial-up, huh?
No, I think that was probably a little bit of dial-up overlap there.
A little bit, yeah. Doesn't it suck that there's things you can talk about using the internet that make you sound like an old man? That seems incomprehensible to me. The internet wasn't invented when I was born. I mean, it was, but only the army had it.
Yeah, a useful home internet became a thing within our lifetimes.
Yeah,
and it is
I remember
now,
getting our first computer.
I remember, getting our first AOL free hours disc.
Those were great times too. Amazing.
Yeah, the most like put it in a time capsule sentence is we would go to Kmart and with a certain purchase you could grab like an AOL 3000 hours or whatever free disc at the cash register at Kmart.
At Kmart. Or you could go to your local mall, which was thriving at the time, and go to Radio Shack and get as many discs as you wanted.
Or Sam, you could go to an internet cafe where they would just have a bunch of computers you could play Counter-Strike on if you wanted to.
Did you ever do that?
Yeah. Like once or twice. And I was like, I don't know if this is for me.
I had like a membership. I had a membership, Matt, at a place in the mall, across from the movie theater. And me and my friend would go there like every Saturday for a few hours. And we would play Counter-Strike. And sometimes people would have downloaded like mods onto the computer you were using that made like the grenades like have big like beams of light coming out of them so you could dodge them. And this happened to my friend. And then a guy was sitting next to him and he was like, "Hey, this guy's fucking cheating." And then my friend was like 12 and this guy was like 30 probably.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I just sat here. I didn't know. Like he could install a mod.
Right.
That stands out to me. And there was a guy who'd like show us memes like in 2001 or something like that. It was crazy. So I saw the hamster dance for the first time.
Oh, I remember seeing the hamster dance for the first time at my friend Steve's house.
Everybody has Steve, right?
He bought the CD for Hamster Dance.
Okay, not everybody. That kind of Steve.
Which I think also was like the CD was like in the shape of the hamster. Like it was like a shape.
Oh, the kinds that would destroy your CD player.
Well, yeah, you couldn't use them in like a car slide-in CD player. You could only put it in like your Walkman.
Yeah.
All this to say, Frank Oz needs to release a rap album, much like Macho Man did in the early 2000s. We just need a completely off the beaten path rap album. Why not? Come on, Frank.
And all that is also to say, it does seem like the 80s is going to be tough on the Muppets. I think it already has started. When the Electric Mayhem changed clothes, that was to me the first indication that things were going to get a little bit weird.
I think I'm still most worried about the Muppets post Jim and 90s Muppets in general, because I'm like, I know there's farting Muppets. I know it happens in the 90s. I know there's Muppets who fart.
Is there for sure?
I think there's a Muppet who farts helium. I think that might be a thing.
Isn't it insane we haven't seen a Muppet fart so far?
I don't think fart jokes are really, as okay.
It's been almost 40 years and we have never seen a Muppet fart.
There's definitely some potty humor and just 90s humor that I think the Muppets will overcorrect a little bit on Muppets Tonight, where they feel like they can be a little bit more of, I think they look at things like sex and violence and they think, oh, we're for adults and kids. How do we find that balance? And I think they struggle a little bit in the 90s to find a good version of that balance.
Yeah, this was the era of Shrek and stuff, though, you know? It was hard. It was tough out there for kids' entertainment because everyone was farting.
That was the 90s, kids. Everyone was farting. Well, I think that's a perfect transition, Sam, to ask you, what did we watch this week?
We watched the season 16 premiere of Sesame Street airing November 19th, 1984. We find ourselves on a pre-dawn Sesame Street. Suddenly, Oscar the Grouch emerges from his trash can to confront us, as our presence seems to have woken up his little niece Irvine, a baby grouch under his care. As Irvine cries, Oscar claims to know where the inhabitants of Sesame Street are, but he ain't tellin'. That is, until he starts talking to Irvine and lets it slip that everyone is up on the roof of 123 Sesame. So up to the roof we go to find Big Bird and the human inhabitants of Sesame Street awaiting the sunrise. Big Bird realizes that his friend, Mr. Snuffleupagus, has to be there to watch the sunrise too, and goes to call him, only to be told by the adults that it would be pretty stupid to miss the sunrise because you had to go call your imaginary friend. But Big Bird goes anyway. When he returns without Snuffy in tow, the adults continue to tell Big Bird that it's okay to have an imaginary friend, as long as it doesn't go too far. And at this, Big Bird snaps. He tells the adults that he is sick of them not believing him and making him feel crazy. He insists that Snuffy's real and doesn't care anymore if anyone believes him or not. But Gordon suddenly declares, "I believe you, Big Bird." The other adults are shocked when Maria steps up and says that she believes him too. Linda also admits that she believes Big Bird, and the other adults are incredulous. But Big Bird's just happy that he's finally not alone in his belief anymore. The sun begins to rise, ending the argument with its breathtaking radiance. Later that day, Big Bird tells Snuffy that some of the adults believe in him now, but Snuffy thinks it's too good to be true. So Big Bird tells Snuffy to stay right there. He'll send Maria over toot sweet to meet him. Big Bird finds Maria and Luis hauling lumber, and after some negotiation convinces Maria to head back to his nest to meet Snuffy. Everybody waits with anticipation, but when Maria returns, it seems that the whole lumber conversation lasted long enough that Snuffy had to peace out, but he left a giant letter apologizing. This letter is taken as proof by the believers, but as a prank to the non-believers, further deepening the divides on Sesame Street. Big Bird doesn't care that he's tearing these friends apart, though, as he knows that he has the righteousness of truth on his side. Elsewhere, Count sings a sort of disturbing song about bones, and Grover sells newspapers. We then watched a best of season 16 playlist featuring skits of extremely varying volume levels, including Bert has to go grocery shopping and wants Ernie to write a list, but Ernie can't find a pen, so he writes the list with a paintbrush and chocolate pudding. Professor Grover, a bona fide moron, teaches some smart-ass kids what a school is. The Count lands his dream job as an elevator operator, then ruins Kermit's day by not being able to actually stop the elevator because he's too excited about counting the floors. Super Grover tries to fix the kid's computer but doesn't. Snuffy and Big Bird do a vaudeville act. Kermit meets the Yip Yip aliens while out on assignment at Old MacDonald's farm. Smokey Robinson sings "You Really Got a Hold on Me" while a giant letter U manhandles him. Ernie and Cookie Monster have a sleepover, but Cookie Monster thinks he sees a monster, then has a nightmare about cookies, so it's not a very good sleepover. How Now Brown and the Moo Wave sing a song about, I guess, just the concept of danger. Ferlinghetti Donizetti, who seems to be like a recurring beat poet type of character. Is this correct?
Yeah, he was a beat poet that premiered a few seasons earlier, who just is obsessed with rhyming.
I have Ferlinghetti Donizetti. Not a name that kids... Well, maybe kids will remember that. I don't know. But anyway, he raps the alphabet. Sesame Street gets a little Weird Alley with a Cyndi Lauper pastiche called "Kids Just Love to Brush" about brushing your teeth. Bert and Ernie do a Mystery Science Theater bit over a Maria S. Chaplin movie, and Kermit sings a song about hopping. Season 16 marks the debut of Kevin Clash's version of Elmo, so we watch the street scenes from the February 11th, 1985 episode of Sesame Street, wherein David and Elmo play a same and different game on the computer. Elmo really gets into it and starts playing same and different in real life. David notices that Elmo is starting to find a lot of same items and goes into the store to find that Elmo has removed the labels from all the canned food to make them the same. "Hey Elmo, David's trying to run a small business over here." Then I guess the writers couldn't figure out what to do from there, so we get an unrelated scene with Buster the horse and Oscar, and another where Big Bird helps Snuffy put on a puppet show. Then we watched another How Now Brown and the Moo Wave video, this one about wet paint, great song, but I kind of question the educational value of learning about wet paint, but what do I know? And finally, we watched another full episode from May 9th, 1985. Everyone is gathered to hear Oscar tell the story of how he came to Sesame Street. The story basically boils down to he just moved there one day. We see him meet and insult Gordon, meet and insult Susan, meet and insult Bob, and find his trash can. In between chapters of the story, he takes breaks to drink something called grouch juice, which I find troubling. Otherwise, we see what the Count does when he can't sleep. The answer, Count stuff. And Guy Smiley go on vacation to the jungle where he talks so loud that he scares away all the animals.
Season 15, we discussed back in April, so about 5 months ago since we last discussed Sesame Street.
Time legitimately flies. That's crazy.
The fact that we're already on season 16 of this show feels wild. And I know we did, the first 10 seasons all in one go.
That was so stupid. Remember how we weren't even going to talk about Sesame Street? Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, especially once we learned that it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I like it.
But apparently, according to Muppet Wiki, season 16 set out to make, quote, an attempt to familiarize children with hospitals and make them less threatening through that situation.
Oh,
I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And computers would still be used this season to, quote, encourage the development of creative writing skills with the keyboard. And
Didn't see any of that in anything we watched.
I mean, there's a little bit of the computer use.
There is computer.
But,
yes.
No creative writing, really. And this is the season that we obviously will discuss. Sesame Street hopped on the trend of music videos and new wave music.
Boy, did they. We see a lot of them.
Yeah, apparently Dulcie Singers said, we don't want older brothers and sisters to come in the room, say that's a baby show, and turn it off. So that's what the music videos were there for, was for the slightly older kids, I guess.
Who are into the Talking Heads, the B-52s,
and
the Human League.
And need to walk in at a very specific moment during this episode.
When they're not talking about baby shit, which they're always doing all the time.
The letter V. It's like, I know that. I'm 8. But throughout the season, some other interesting things that we didn't watch happen. Luis breaks his arm and has to deal with that for 12 episodes.
12 episodes?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the episode...
Is that when he goes to the hospital?
Yep. And they use this to explain x-rays and casts, and Big Bird even covers the Fix-It shop in padding to help Luis not get hurt.
Oh, that's nice.
Because Big Bird feels guilty that he thinks he caused Luis's accident.
Did he?
No, because Luis is working on projects at the Fix-It shop and had promised Big Bird that they'd, I think, play ball or play catch or whatever like that. And so Big Bird goes to the Fix-It shop while Luis is in the back room working and is like, Luis, hurry up. We need to play ball kind of thing. He's like, okay. And then there's like a crashing sound or something. And so Big Bird's like, oh, if I hadn't told him to hurry up, he wouldn't have rushed the job and hurt himself.
Right. But Luis really needs to keep his shop a little cleaner.
Exactly. There's also a bit in that storyline where Maria won't let Luis help at the Fix-It shop, and so he gets discouraged and goes and hangs out with Oscar, who sets up an un-Fix-It shop, and he hires Luis.
To break stuff or what?
I don't think they actually show it. I'm assuming that's the intention, but from the summary on Muppet Wiki, they didn't say if he is outright breaking things, but I would assume that's probably part of it.
Luis's lowest moment.
At one point during the season, Snuffy brings his TV over to Big Bird's nest so that he, Big Bird, and some kids can work out along with Jane Snuffleupagus, presumably like a Jane Fonda version of a Snuffleupagus.
Oh, I mean, okay.
Elsewhere throughout the season, Oscar at one point gets a pet lobster named Camille.
Oh.
There's an episode where they talk about remembering Mr. Hooper because somebody asks, why is this store called Hooper's? And they're like, now we got to teach you about the guy who used to be here.
Like you say that like some real person walked in from the real world and asked that. And they
like,
had to do it.
Shit.
And like, not that they just wrote the episode that way.
There's also a blackout on Sesame Street, teaching the kids to not be scared of a blackout. Interestingly, David and Maria are still dating at this point in Sesame Street. Yeah.
Oh.
Seems like Luis and Maria are co-workers, sometimes dance partners. But officially,
maybe that's what's making me think. Because I feel like we've seen Luis like put his arm around Maria and stuff.
I think it's sort of at this point like a co-worker bond. And they have them dance together in this batch of episodes, talking about speaking Spanish together. And so at this point, David is still on Sesame Street and still dating Maria because there's an episode in season 16 where they are going on a date. Elmo is around, as we mentioned, but still hasn't quite locked into his character. It is in this batch of episodes where it starts to become a little bit more like Elmo, but because
there's just glimmers, have a little, very little glimmers.
Yeah, but because it was transitioning from one performer to another, and because they filmed some of these things out of order, you would get Richard Hunt versions of Elmo after Kevin Clash versions of Elmo. And so the whole sort of weird Igor sidekick thing that Elmo's kind of got going on would persist for a little while.
And Kevin Clash even kind of does. He's like doing that a little bit too.
Yeah, he just sounds more like the Elmo that everyone will come to know.
But he's still going like, ha, ha, ha.
He's still keeping a little bit of that monster, I think. He's not quite a kid. He's more of like another monster like Telly on Sesame Street.
Right.
It's like,
Telly is a pretty bad example.
Grover, maybe then?
Yeah. Because Rachel walked in and she's like, how old is Telly supposed to be when she was watching him? She's like, he just seems like he's our age. And I said, I don't know. I think he's a kid, but he is basically our age, isn't he?
I think what we learned was Telly was supposed to be surprisingly young when we talked about him in the past, but I still don't buy it because that's the anxiety-ridden 40-year-old man.
Exactly.
The amazing Mumford, who is the resident magician on Sesame Street, brings Cinderella to Sesame Street at one point this season, and Cinderella is played by Jane Curtin from SNL and Third Rock from the Sun and a bunch of other things. Gordon attempts to meet Snuffy now that he believes in him, but Susan's like, no, we have dinner plans. You're coming to dinner with me instead. But Snuffy knows
such a relatable storyline. It's basically like Sam wants to play video games, but he's not allowed to.
Because he has agreed to go to dinner with his wife.
Yeah.
So Snuffy, knowing he's supposed to meet Gordon, wanders out to Sesame Street and meets Oscar, who for a while he thinks is Gordon, and even tells Big Bird, I met Gordon, he's got lovely green hair.
Oh, he's never even met Oscar.
No.
Yeah, okay.
And Oscar is shocked to find out Snuffy is real, because earlier on he's mocking Gordon, like, oh, you really think you're going to meet Snuffy? Yeah, likely story.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And then when Oscar does meet him, he tries to tell Gordon, yo, I met this dude. And now Gordon thinks Oscar is playing a prank on him.
With him. Yeah. Because why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you believe a single word that comes out of that guy's mouth at this point?
Breakdancing is also a huge theme throughout this season of Sesame Street because Piri, a kid who is introduced this season, works at Mr. Hooper's store.
A real child.
Well, he's like a teenager.
Okay, but he's a human being.
Not a Muppet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yes. Yeah. He is a kid who works at Mr. Hooper's store. And basically every scene I saw of him, he's carrying a boombox and is like looking for an excuse to start breakdancing.
Just like everybody in the 80s, you know?
At one point, he even teaches Bob a couple of moves so that Bob can impress Linda on their date.
I don't think Linda will like that, but okay.
No, because it's fantastic. If you can find the clip somewhere to watch, Bob is doing this like wrist, elbows, shoulders, wrist, elbows, shoulders
he's popping
thing.
and locking.
Yeah, he's trying. Okay. And as he's like practicing and starts to walk away, Big Bird walks up in the background and is like, what is happening? And he like talks to the camera and he's like, do you guys know what Bob was trying to do? It looks like he's trying to fly.
I like that. Taking one, sticking it to the adults a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get it.
And lastly, in this season, we learn about some of Maria's other past jobs. So I think things that we've seen on the show is that she works at the Fix-It shop and also works at the lending library. But we see in her flashback that she also worked as a construction worker.
Oh,
and she's up on a big old I-beam, and her coworker is played by Jerry Nelson, on camera and bearded.
Whoa. He does look like a construction worker, so that's good casting. This batch of episodes really gave me the impression of like Maria, of anybody. She's like a real person who's trapped in this show.
The scale of Sesame Street is forever changed for me in this batch of episodes. From a specific moment that we'll talk about later on. But it is always interesting to see who feels like a TV presenter versus who feels like a real person inhabiting this world and how those two things are allowed to exist in the same episode of television. So getting into the first episode we watched, episode 1966, It aired on November 19th, 1984, and this is an episode where the Muppets aren't really teaching us anything at all. Throughout most of this episode, we're not getting a lot of education coming from the actual Muppets.
You don't learn, you mean about is this the Bones one?
It is Bones.
Yeah. You learn a little bit about Bones.
Mostly what would happen if you didn't have Bones.
I really was shocked that they got into that so much.
And so graphically.
Yeah.
But the episode opens up with Oscar and his niece, Irvine.
Who is this?
I think, so this is our first exposure to Irvine, but I believe she's been around since season 10. So we're just ships passing in the night, I think, as far as...
She just drops in every now and then to hang out with her uncle.
Yeah, I think when we watch 2 out of 100 episodes of a season of television, we're going to miss some things.
That's true, yeah.
And yeah, this is when Oscar accidentally tells us that everyone is up on the roof. And he gets upset that Irvine tricked him into being helpful. And Irvine pats him, gives him a little there pat. Yeah. And he yells, "A grouch never pats or is patted."
Yes, this implies there's this complicated rule set for the Grouches. Kind of like the Ferengi, in like Deep Space Nine. You ever watch that show?
I have not.
They have like the Book of Commerce or something like that. And there's like rules in it that they're always quoting. Seems like there's some kind of Grouch Bible that teaches them how to. I mean,
there's Grouch juice. Why is there not a Grouch Bible? There has to be, right?
I think so. They have their own civilization down underground. So,
and there's even space traveling Grouches, and so I feel like there's definitely a Grouch Bible out there.
They're an advanced species.
Sesame Street's too afraid to get into that.
Yeah. What did you think of that weird moment when he was like, "You can learn what stop means," and then it's like shows that little stop sign short video?
Yeah, it cuts to like something you would expect to see on Sesame Street, like a little short film segment. Oscar throws to it like a VJ. And he's just like, "Hey, you need to learn what stop means. Like, stop hanging around my trash can." And it cuts to a stop sign cartoon insert. And then we cut back to Oscar.
Right. It's very short. It just is like, stop sign. Here it is. And then we're back in the same street scene.
I mean, maybe
this is something they do too, and we just had never seen it.
Maybe it's that MTV generation.
Could be kids with short attention spans. TVs are just burning their brains out.
Yeah. Maybe Sesame Street these days is all just TikTok length segments back to back to back.
I watched enough Sesame Street on YouTube that I'm only getting served Sesame Street shorts on YouTube Shorts now. So probably that's true.
I did see a short the other day of Cookie Monster talking about his favorite Jonas Brothers songs. So
don't say that. Are we going to have to watch? We're going to have to watch all of those.
So we've set ourselves up nicely in regards to Sesame Street.
Yes.
In that we don't
have
watch
plausible
everything.
Deniability. Yeah.
But because when the internet comes around, specifically YouTube for Sesame Street, they just whoosh, everything is on YouTube. Tons of original content. And I'm sure we will dip in and watch some of this stuff. I haven't even bothered to catalog those things on our spreadsheet yet. Because there's so much internet stuff that I figured as we get closer to the internet, I'll start adding those in. But for now, I'm just living in a blissful ignorance of the internet not existing.
Yeah, maybe an EMP will go off and it will just get deleted.
I mean, half the things that were made throughout the years have been deleted. Smart, like the iPhone app games of the Muppets that we just can't play anymore. Or HBO Max just saying, not this one. You don't need this one.
One of us will have to get a job at Sesame Workshop to get access to the archive of stuff.
I feel like they're going to be on to us pretty quickly.
Yeah. Pretty cursory Google search would show you that.
Yeah. Oh, the only thing I see when I Google your name is all Muppet stuff. So, we're going to investigate this a little further. But up on the rooftop, they are watching the sunrise. I was a little surprised when I realizing like, oh, they woke up Big Bird just to show him a sunrise? This is a 6-year-old child.
Yeah, well, first of all, kids wake up so early.
Also, bird kids.
Yes.
Maybe even earlier.
Birds are the first ones to wake up because they wake everybody else up. So Big Bird probably was awake anyway. But this does seem like a special occasion, right? Like, you gotta blow this kid's mind.
It felt like for some reason they all just realized, wait a minute, the sun rises every day.
Yeah.
And we have a cool rooftop. We can go watch it.
Did you triangulate where Sesame Street was based on the building that you can see?
Oh.
From the roof?
I didn't.
I think it would be almost impossible. I'm sure somebody, if you search for it, you could maybe figure out what building they're looking at in that B-roll. But they have, when they're up on the roof, you can see Manhattan. I assume it's Manhattan. And it's like green screened in front of them. And there is a building that looks to be under construction, maybe. That I'm sure if you were from New York, maybe you would say, that's that building. And it's the sunrise direction.
Yeah.
So you could figure out, I think, roughly where Sesame Street was based on that.
Well, you've given me a project for once we record finishing here, Sam. So I appreciate that.
And I'm sure other things, they've been up on the roof and seen other buildings that totally, but for this specific episode, yeah.
It definitely would contradict that. But we could probably figure out at least sort of the neighborhood they're in, if not the exact location.
Right.
Interesting. I hadn't even thought to do that. I was too distracted.
You're rubbing off on me.
I was too distracted by the adults at first playing a game of Big Bird. Guess what we're here to see? It's something really fantastic. It's big. It's round. It's yellow. It keeps us warm. And I was like, oh, it's just the sun?
Yeah.
Like, I thought they were like going to watch a meteor shower or something interesting.
Exactly. It starts off too vague.
Yeah.
Because they're just saying it's something amazing. That's not a clue. How are you supposed to guess any? It's just annoying at that point.
Right. We're going to watch something beautiful and fantastic. And it's like, all right, cool. An eclipse? What's going on?
And then it's like, you don't even realize you're supposed to be guessing. And then by the end, it's like, you're talking about the sun?
Yeah.
Such an obvious thing. It wouldn't even enter into my mind as the subject of a guessing game.
Right. Like bringing you outside and trying to guess what grass is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, I see this every single day. I am not surprised by the grass. But Big Bird does leave, and we get a little springtime cartoon. But once we're back from that cartoon, found out, Snuffy couldn't make it. And we get the first of a few fantastic lines from Big Bird. They're like, oh, yeah, Snuffy couldn't make it. And he's like, yeah, something about him being sound asleep and his father not being too happy about me calling him at 5 a.m.
Yeah, that was a good one. Big Bird is annoying me less in this episode.
He feels
he has been in the past. They aged him up a little bit.
They aged him up, and he also, I think, gets to be a little funnier throughout these episodes as well, in ways that I appreciated. And he's not just the bumbling fool who's ruining everyone's day, but he is getting angrier about not being believed, because Bob says to him about Snuffy, if you want to imagine that, it's okay with us. And we get the most somber Big Bird delivery since maybe he found out Mr. Hooper died. And he says, boy, you can't possibly imagine how tired I am of hearing that. And a chill ran up my spine.
Did it really? Because it really did for me.
Yeah, it did when I just quoted it to myself just now. Yeah. I gave myself goosebumps because it's such a weird, serious moment where if you're having what you think is a fun conversation with your pals and someone says, boy, am I tired of hearing that? You'd be like, I fucked up.
Shit. Yeah. I was going to also, regarding that building, because this is, I think, when they start to see the building, the difference between me and you. So I feel like I'm starting to see things and be like, oh, what is that? I wonder. The difference between me and you is you do it and I think Matt should do that.
Or you think, I bet Matt will do that.
That's mostly what I think. Yeah.
Yes. No, if I had thought of it, I would have done it immediately.
Yeah.
I just didn't think of it. But getting back to Sad Big Bird, he confronts Bob once and for all. And he says, don't you think after all these 6 years of my life, I'd learned the difference between what's real and what's imaginary?
It is weird to hear that at the beginning of the 16th season of the show.
Right. I've been around here for 16 years, but I am 6 years old. At this point, I feel like I just have to accept the Muppets never aging thing. Mm-hmm. Muppet Babies kind of flies in the face of that, but
we don't see the Muppet Babies age either.
But we
know that they will, but we don't see it.
Is it a spontaneous thing one day? They wake up and they're like, we are all very big and in the same bed?
That's what we don't know.
And yeah, this is when some of the adults decide, you know what? Big Bird sounds very convincing right now. Mm-hmm. And I choose to believe you, Big Bird. But it turns out it's just Gordon, Maria, and Linda who choose to believe Big Bird.
Do you believe them that they believe him? I believe Maria because I feel like she's had brushes with the extraordinary more than anyone else has.
Yeah,
I feel like Gordon doesn't blow smoke up your ass. And Linda has no reason to pretend.
No.
Especially if it would put her at odds with Bob.
But I think there is a difference at this point, at least, where I feel like you're right. Maria legitimately is like, I think I could walk around the corner and run into Snuffy.
Yes.
Gordon is a little bit more Snuffy agnostic.
Yeah. He doesn't have enough evidence one way or the other.
Yeah, but for now, he's willing to trust Big Bird. But I think there's still a little bit of doubt in Gordon's mind personally.
Yes. I get the impression of that too. I like when Olivia, who is his sister, is that right? When he says, I believe you, Big Bird, Olivia's like, Gordon, are you serious?
Which is a little bit, I feel like when Linda says that she believes, I feel like it feels like a little bit of a confrontation to Bob as well, of like, well, you don't? Well, guess what? I do.
Exactly.
So it does, like, it splits the couples, the families. There's a divide now on Sesame Street for a whole other season, by the way. The adults will not meet Snuffy until season 17's premiere.
Ugh, that's so annoying. I think it would have been fun if at the end of this episode, Maria had gone back to meet Snuffy and then had come back and been like, I saw Snuffy. But we didn't see it on camera, you know?
Yeah. By the way, we will discuss that season 17 episode in January of 2024.
Okay, that's not too bad.
It's not. It sounds more futuristic than it is.
Yeah. I also, this scene made me really emotional for some reason. Did you, I like almost was like tearing up over it for some reason. Just because it's like, I think because it's been so long coming.
Yeah.
And I think it was Maria specifically that was like, that's when I started to feel like she's a real person, because it is really like, she understands the absurdity of her situation, and to see her make that leap of being like, all right, Big Bird, I buy into a giant bird. I buy into these weird little puppet guys running all over the place. Who am I to say there ain't a big elephant? And it's just like everybody, those people standing behind Big Bird was so beautiful to me. And I think Bob, too, also being like, I'm so sorry, Big Bird, but I can't do it. Like, it was all handled so, like, interestingly and dramatically that just really hit me for some reason.
You know, I think I was almost more like in the stunned silence sort of where I was just, I knew it was coming, but like the way they handled it, I thought was really well done.
Yeah.
And I think knowing what we know about some of the reasons they chose to do this, and
totally.
the fact that it was sort of relating to child abuse and the idea of kids potentially not being believed when they tell adults what's happening to them.
Right.
And, you know, so having Big Bird talk about, like, I know what's real and I know what's imaginary. I can't call an imaginary friend on the telephone, and I just called Snuffy. So I know the difference, and I need you to trust that I know the difference.
I know we're all having a lot of fun here, and I seem like a big idiot, but
that's just part of my shtick.
you guys got to back off. Yeah.
I'm not always an idiot. I promise. Yeah, no, I think it was just, you know, it's one of those moments where you do see the child psychologist was in the room when the writers were working on this one, saying, here's the best way to handle this.
Definitely.
On the flip side, we have the Count teaching kids about bones.
This guy always is a big idiot.
And we learn a couple things from the Count. Notably in this clip, they show his castle, which is just Belvedere Castle in Central Park.
I love that aspect of him.
Yeah.
That he does seem to be actually just a crazy guy who's living in, like a crazy vampire guy who's living in Central Park. That's a great concept.
Mm-hmm. And we learn that the Count has bones.
Does he say that?
He does. He says, these bones are hard to see, still you have them just like me.
Oh, wow.
So confirmed, there's a skeleton inside of that Count.
Ew. Does that mean does all Muppets have bones? I suppose so.
I mean, I guess.
Were any Muppet to be electrocuted, you would be able to see their skeleton, I think.
Ooh.
So at least in that moment, they would have bones.
Yeah. I think that's a good note. It's like that company Mighty Jacks put out those figures a while back that were the cross sections of Sesame Street Muppets. So if you want to see the Count's skeleton, you can do that if you can track down one of those figures.
Though it would be funny if like Kermit got electrocuted and you saw like a human hand inside of him. That would also be a pretty good joke.
That'd be a very good joke. Rubber Ducky even has a skeleton in this Mighty Jack's
No,
Ernie
well,
figure.
that's not canon. But Count really buckles down on describing what would happen were you to have no bones. You would be a puddle. You would look like melted ice cream.
Mm-hmm. Said you would fall like melted ice cream to the floor.
Yeah. And the concept, I guess, here being if your bones all disappear.
Yeah, like instantaneously.
Which is an early introduction to body horror for the children. That's what the Count's there for, is to teach you fear.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was like, when are you going to start counting, motherfucker?
No.
He does eventually. Does
he?
He starts counting every bone he can think of.
Oh, right.
Which there's a skeleton sitting right in front of him. He can just count the bones on the skeleton.
Do we think it's a real skeleton?
He tickles it and it laughs. So make of that what you will. I don't know.
I forgot that part. Yeah.
So it's a living skeleton.
I guess that's less
if it came out of a human
creepy.
or not.
Right. Do Muppet skeletons stay alive when removed from the body?
Yes, because in the Muppets Treasure Island, there's a skeleton.
But did they...
Was he born a skeleton?
I was born a skeleton and I'll die a skeleton.
Yeah.
Anyway.
These are questions for future us.
Grover is selling newspapers at one point during this episode around a construction site, which seems to be there just as an annoyance. Doesn't really factor in a ton.
Especially at the end of the thing, yeah.
Yeah, mostly it's just he's trying to sell these newspapers and he's mad that there's so much noise happening around him until a man walks up and is like, well, didn't you read the paper? Like, it said there was construction on Main Street.
And what kind of newspaper is this? Building Construction Daily? Like,
it's a local paper, I think. It's not like the New York Times. It's like a smaller neighborhood paper, maybe, with the goings-ons.
It's a Village Voice.
Yeah, because the construction does seem to be the front page. But Grover apparently thought newspapers were just for making hats and didn't even know you could read newspapers.
Fool.
And once he learns that there is things to read in there, he becomes completely engrossed, learning all about the construction and a parade and the weather report.
Yeah, and gets even worse at selling newspapers than previously he was, which is bad.
Oh, to be fair, he only had one copy left.
Oh, well, there you go. He sold this whole stack that somebody threw out of the back of the truck at him.
He was down to his last paper. The way you worded that, though, made it sound like maybe Grover just saw someone toss a stack of newspapers from a truck and said, ooh, what are these? And took them. And he wasn't supposed to be the one to take them and sell them, but he just turned it into a racket.
Feeding into the kind of background theory that I have, at least, that the Muppets of New York are just kind of more pest than anything. They're just they're like sentient raccoons. Wouldn't that be so annoying if there was a sentient, like, little bunch of people who, like, were just causing problems all the time? Like, in the real world, that would be scary.
Little furry monsters running around, but you could, like, have conversations with them, but they're still, like, you can't reason with them.
They break everything. You'd have to have such good insurance. Like Elmo taking all the labels off those cans, you'd have to, like, make a claim with, like, State Farm and be like, this is Muppet caused. I need to write this loss off.
This is Acts of Muppet. We get a delightful song about peanut butter.
I loved this. I don't usually, like, pay much attention to the songs, but this one really roped me in because it starts with the kid eating the peanut butter, and then the kid goes, peanuts are so little. It's like, okay, I'm in now.
Yeah, Joe Raposo had fun with some songs around this time because we get a peanut butter song, and later on we also get a fruit song. Both delightful.
Yeah. He's leaned so far into his, like, old-timey, like, voice. I love that.
Yeah. This is just, it's all about, it takes a lot of little nuts to do the job. We get the line, like a peanut butter pumper should.
Pump out the peanut butter like a peanut butter pumper should. I love that it's, like, teaching you how peanut butter factory works, but also it's kind of like, nobody really knows. The guy who built it
especially Joe Raposo.
Yeah.
He got a bunch of footage from a peanut butter factory and said, I got it.
Yeah.
That thing is
like,
a peanut butter pumper.
I could go to a peanut butter factory and ask them what everything's called, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, peanut butter is coming out of a tube. Then we have the 1, 2 little dolls that we've seen 1,000 times.
I'm so fucking sick of this song. Why have every song is this the one? I feel like we see a lot of 2. So I think 2 is generally what
the season premiere
is. Because he can't do one, because he can't do the pinball thing and just go, one. That'd be dumb.
One. That's the end. That's just the whole song.
Yeah. But the Dollhouse song, I hate it. And I'm so sick of it. I'm sorry to these children. Sorry to these cats who probably are not with us anymore.
I'm going to bet that's pretty good. That's a pretty safe bet there.
They'd be the oldest cats in the world.
Well, this Dollhouse, this whole thing was produced by Jim Henson, this little Dollhouse thing.
One of them his daughters.
Not in this. I think they show up in one of the other little filmed bits like this. But the Dollhouse was built by Jim Henson for his daughters. The cats
nice
are the Henson family cats.
Oh, wow.
And this entire short film was shot inside Cheryl and Lisa's bedroom.
Okay, well, apologies. But it's kind of sad that they weren't the ones in it, isn't it? He's brought 2 other little girls in.
Maybe he had used them enough in like other things
girls.
where he was like, you guys don't need to be in everything.
He made him audition and he was like, you're not. Sorry, we'll call you.
Then we had a teeny little super guy segment where he's swimming in the sink with Eugene, a little boy on a Dixie cup.
Yep.
Basically just talking about having to go to school.
At one point he ascends like Link in Tears of the Kingdom.
He does when he goes back to his cabin at the end. He just bloop.
Yeah. I don't want to dwell too much on teeny little super guy, but what makes him, and the song pumps him up at the beginning
Teeny
so much.
little super guy.
And it says he's a hero. What makes him a hero?
He seems like he's just doing really normal things. He played baseball and now he's talking to a kid about going to school.
He's just a guy. He's just a teeny little guy.
Unless you add to the conceit that he is a living cup, because that's kind of impressive.
But they all are. Everybody else is too.
Yeah.
Is Eugene also
impressive and a hero?
Or it's just his name, and his parents just said, your name is teeny little super guy. He's like, okay. And then he goes out and he's like, what's your name? Is it weird like mine? And he goes, no, my name's Philip.
Yeah. Philip, this is Bob. That's Eugene. What was your name again? I'm teeny little super guy. Sure,
teeny
buddy.
Little super guy. Okay.
Yeah. You could just rebrand. You could be Awesome Sam.
I mean, I wouldn't even. Maybe Guy is his name. Could be.
I'm regular sized Awesome Sam. These, though, are so complicated to make. I cannot even begin to imagine where to start. When they have the entire school of other people, there's like 60 mugs on the floor of this kitchen with various illustrated people on them. And just the idea of how long it would take to move and stop motion this entire scene.
And switch the mugs out.
Yeah.
And to sit there and paint a mug with like 70 different teeny little super guys on it. And then like 10 other of everybody else. And then like go to your sink in your house and be like, okay, set my lights up, make my sink look nice.
I just imagine the guy who was making these made his family very upset. Like his wife and kids are like, can we go in the kitchen yet? And he's like, no, you cannot. I have all my cups are out. You cannot touch them. You cannot get food or drink for the next 3 days until I finish this short film.
Teeny little super guy is learning what dogs are. All right, go away.
Daddy, we're hungry.
And also the first time you showed it to somebody, I feel like they would say, why are they on cups? And you'd be like, oh, I don't know.
Don't judge my medium.
Oh, wow. There's actually on the Wikipedia for Teeny Little Super Guy, a photo of them doing the school episode specifically. And it looks like they have sticks and all the cups are on the ground and they're just pushing the cups around with sticks. And they look like they're sick of pushing cups around with sticks. Frankly, in my personal opinion. Because it's just so specific. That is what makes it so, like, I guess that's what makes it engaging. It's just like, it's like so many questions. Why? Why are you putting them on cups? But whatever.
Well, then we get to see the two-headed monster attempting to drive a car, remembering that seatbelts exist, but not in like a way that's helpful for kids to remember that seatbelts are a crucial part of being in a car, because they drive backwards and then crash, and then they drive forward and crash again. Thankfully, I guess they're wearing their seatbelts, so we assume they're still alive, but it wasn't really teaching kids anything about car safety other than be sure to wear a seatbelt because somebody you're riding with might crash a lot.
Crash into a wall. Yeah. Also, I know it's Richard Hunt, but one of them sounds more like Junior than I remember him sounding like.
They did seem a little bit more understandable in this bit specifically than we have heard them in the past.
Yeah. They just are saying, seatbelt, Like somebody said, we have to say seatbelt really clearly because kids gotta know
Yeah.
what seatbelts are.
No, I feel like
It is the mid 80s and people are not wearing seatbelts.
I feel like throughout this batch, and this is probably just because we've been watching so much Fraggle Rock, I've been able to clock Richard Hunt characters a lot easier than I used to be able to. I used to be able, Jerry, Frank, and Jim, I could pick them out of a crowd pretty easily.
Yeah.
Now,
Richard's a chameleon, though. He's got a lot of different things going on.
back on the street, we've got Snuffy and Big Bird hanging out. Big Bird's telling Snuffy that some people believe in you, and Snuffy isn't buying it.
Now, I have a question about this. Yeah. I feel like previously I didn't get the impression that Snuffy didn't think people didn't believe in him. But maybe I suppose since we've only watched so little of it. Because I assume he walks down the street and people see him. I thought it was just this particular group of people. Like, he walks down the street that isn't Sesame Street.
Like he's like Barkley. He has a whole other life 1 block over.
Yes, like he lives somewhere in a cave. Yeah. And there must be people, like it would be impossible for him to walk to Sesame Street and never have an adult
we've
see
seen
him.
many examples of that just happening to work out, where he walks by and everyone just happens to be reading their newspaper or using a computer and they don't see this giant elephant man.
I guess that's true. And then up to the fact that he has parents, like they have jobs, I'd assume, or something.
They got to go out for groceries.
Maybe the adults would be like, well, yeah, we believe in Mr. Snuffleupagus' dad. We just never seen Mr. Snuffleupagus. We don't think he's real.
Well, this is when Big Bird goes to get Maria and be like, hey, you believe now. Come see Snuffy. Luis is a bit of a jerk in this moment. They're carrying just a big long plank for some reason.
They should be carrying more planks, first of all.
Just all the time?
2 adult humans.
Oh, got you.
Generally could carry
in
more
this moment, they should be carrying more planks at one time.
And they're like, oh, I'm so tired. It's because like you made like 100 trips because you took 1 piece of wood every time.
It does not look very heavy.
No.
But yeah, they are carrying a big piece of wood. And so they argue about carrying the wood first. They get like a little bit more argumentative than I would have assumed.
Little snippy.
Yeah.
I like when Big Bird is like, I'll take the piece of wood. And he takes a piece of wood and he says to Maria, it's called cooperation. And she says, yes, I know.
Well, because they're arguing and Maria says, there must be an adult way to handle this. And Big Bird's the one who jumps in and suggests that he carry the wood while Maria goes to meet Snuffy. And we see...
Just like in that moment, she's like, I can't learn a lesson every single moment of every day.
And then we learn that Big Bird, the limitations of that costume, because Carol Spinney's right hand is up inside the head. He can only carry something with his left hand, which
makes it very clear that he has an inoperable hand.
Yes, because he has to awkwardly put his left hand under the wood and stand weirdly close to it in a way that no one has ever carried wood in this way.
Yeah.
And that's when Maria wanders off to go to Big Bird's nest area. And we assume she'll meet Snuffy.
Yeah, it's an interesting cliffhanger. She just like opens the door, she waggles her eyebrows at the camera and walks in. And it really is setting it up for something exciting to happen.
But instead, she returns with a big old letter that Snuffy left. And this is when some adults don't buy it. And this is because Snuffy had to go home and help clean the cave.
Ain't that always the way with this guy?
And Bob and the other adults who don't believe think Maria is just pulling a prank.
And it goes on that way for an entire year.
Yep. And the end of the episode is once again Irvine tricking Oscar into saying the sponsors at the end of the episode. And Oscar yells at us, "Scram! You can watch tomorrow." No, don't watch tomorrow.
Don't watch tomorrow.
And then we watched our best of season 16 playlist, which once again kicked off with the peanut butter song. Still good. And at the beginning of this, I was a little worried that we were just going to see everything again. Because
the pencil shows up.
The pencil, the two-headed monster, and the teeny little super guy are the first, those are the first few things in that list. And I was like, okay, well, I can skip through these.
Skip right through the first 7 or 8 minutes.
Saves me some time.
Yeah.
But then we get Bert and Ernie. Bert's going grocery shopping and wants Ernie to put together the grocery list. A truly nightmare-inducing scenario.
No, you don't like making... Why?
I don't like making the list in general. I'm happy to do it. But, for some reason, my brain forgets every food that's ever existed when I go to make a grocery list.
Yeah, mine too.
But the idea of, in this scenario, I guess my wife would be going to put on her coat, and as she's zipping up her coat, being like, hey, you got 2 minutes to write the grocery list.
That's not fair. That's true. Bert and Ernie needed to plan this out better.
But he can't find a writing utensil at all. and searches around for anything, pencils, markers, etc. Can't find anything. And so he finds a paintbrush, but doesn't have anything to dip it in until he disappears to the kitchen and comes back with a super messy shopping list for pencils, pens, crayons, markers, a typewriter, and chocolate pudding. Because he wrote the list in chocolate pudding.
Yeah, and at this point I was like, okay, whatever. But then I loved Bert's line when he's like, he's improving. Last time he used spaghetti sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Great punchline.
Well, and the fact that Bert is frustrated, but still encouraged.
And Ernie is trying his best here.
Oh, yeah. He is
was set up for
frantically
failure in
trying to
multiple different
succeed.
ways. Ernie seems like a guy who'd make a great grocery list. Like I think he probably loves food and enjoys making it.
Then we get to see Grover the professor.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
I don't like when people are sassing Grover because I think Grover works much better. This is maybe my problem with Super Grover a little bit, but Super Grover is more funny because he's just like so bumbling. But Grover works better when he's making someone like mad, viscerally
when he's
angry.
a waiter, when he's a salesman, in those scenarios, as opposed to just like, I'm the idiot here ruining everyone's day.
Yeah, I don't particularly want to see people being rude to Grover, like these little bastards are being rude to him.
He becomes frustrating in a different way when he's just not smart enough to know what school is.
Right, because you're in school, you're a professor. How'd you get this far?
Yeah, I think we've seen a bit like this before where the kids were all smarter than him. Was it?
When he's a camp counselor.
Oh, that's what it was. They were hiking out in the woods, and they were all smarter than him at that point.
Yeah, and I like it like when Prairie Dawn is around. Is that her name?
Yeah.
And she is frustrated by all the monsters, but she also has an undercurrent of being like, I gotta help these morons. These kids are just like, fuck you, man.
These look like leftover puppets that were just sitting around, just sacks of fleece that don't have a ton of personality individually. So, yeah, it's just not a great ensemble to give us a good scene. After that, we get to see the Count working as an elevator operator with Kermit the Frog.
I fucking loved this.
Yeah.
This is one of my new favorite things also.
Another great scenario where, a Muppet gets to upset and frustrate Kermit the Frog by just being a little inept. Because Kermit, in his nice little reporter outfit, walks up and wants to go to the 7th floor. Interestingly, in this scenario, he does know the Count.
I thought that was really interesting too.
Yeah, he's like, oh, hey, the Count, what are you doing here?
I thought that was an odd little element to it where usually they would just pretend like Waiter Grover and that guy don't know each other ever. It would just be like, we're just two guys. But this one was, a nice bit of like, Rachel was there too and she was like, Kermit's in this show? Because she didn't know, I guess. And I was like, yeah, in my opinion, he lives on Sesame Street. And she didn't think that was true. But I think this is just like, he's just in his neighborhood.
Yeah, he at least has a summer home in Sesame Street.
What a horrible place to summer.
But he's got his little cute reporter outfit on, so clearly he's going to some sort of work.
Or going home?
Ooh,
Unclear.
Maybe.
I wasn't really sure.
I assumed he was going for a meeting or something. But the Count gets too obsessed with counting, and they go all the way up to the 10th floor. And Kermit gets mad. We get nice...
He gets so mad immediately.
Which, again, it's, 3 floors, Kermit. It's not that big of a
You can
deal.
walk downstairs, too.
Yeah. But he does get mad enough that he has to yell at the Count and explain to him what his job actually is, because the Count, turns out, didn't really know what an elevator operator is supposed to do. As in, he doesn't know that you're supposed to take people to the floor they request. He thought he could just go up and down all day, and so he figures out a compromise, in his eyes, is that, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in, operate the elevator, and you can hop up the stairs.
I love the element of it also that just like in his castle when the lightning strikes when he's done counting, the lightning strikes inside the elevator.
When they reach
Very
the 10th floor.
Yeah. And I love at the beginning when he says, Hotsy Totsy, when he's like excited that he got the elevator job. Because it reminded me of, he reminds me very much of What We Do in the Shadows Vampires in this one, where he's just like fundamentally misunderstanding a very common part of modern life and also saying insane things like Hotsy Totsy.
I'm sure somebody out there has mashed up What We Do in the Shadows and the
We got to get the count on What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah.
Or, sometimes they bring adult things into Sesame Street. Like they do a Mad Men parody on Sesame Street or something like that.
Yeah.
With John Hamm. And you're like, kids have no idea what's going on right now. But you could bring some What We Do in the Shadows characters.
Oh, if they did Twin Peaks, they could do What We Do in the Shadows for sure. They would get Matt Berry.
I was just thinking Matt Berry on Sesame Street would be amazing.
I want to see him talk to Elmo so badly.
Oh, that's our new petition, I think.
After the strike.
Yeah, I don't even think they're currently in production, regardless of strike or not, on Sesame Street. But yes, post-strike, when they start up a new season of Sesame Street, I think Matt Berry is definitely a prime choice.
I have to see him enunciate too much at a Muppet.
Oh, well, okay. Two things I'm thinking about all day. Where is that building in New York? And Matt Berry interacting
and how do we get Matt Berry on Sesame Street?
Well, it's time for Super Grover. And we get Super Grover here flying in to help a little girl whose computer isn't working. He crashes through the window, and she's so disappointed when he arrives.
Oh, it's Super Grover.
She yells out for help, but when it's Super Grover, she's like, oh, it's Super Grover.
Poor Grover.
And she asks, do you know anything about computers? And he's like, I do. I do know that I do not know anything about computers.
But you know what? She doesn't come out of this smelling like a rose either. She doesn't know she got to turn the computer on.
That does seem like a fundamental thing.
That's the first thing you'd learn, I would imagine.
Yeah, I could see it maybe being a thing where you can turn on the computer, but you have to turn on the monitor separately.
I suppose,
And she didn't learn that. But this just seems like she's never turned on a computer. Then we get one of the most delightful things I've ever seen. Big Bird and Snuffy doing a vaudeville double act.
It's so cute.
They're just mostly singing about things and foods and animals that starts with S. But I would go see this show.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, giant freakish bird, giant freakish elephant mutant. This would be hot shit. Even though their material isn't that great, still, people would be lining up to see this.
I don't know if this is a running thing that they do, more vaudeville things like this, but I liked seeing Snuffy outside of the context of just
I thought that was interesting.
Hanging out in Bird's Nest and being like, I'll sit here waiting for someone to come find me, I guess.
Yeah, you don't necessarily see Big Bird in a ton of these little skits, and you definitely don't see Mr. Snuffleupagus. So it was fascinating that somebody was like, let's have him do a Broadway thing, and went to all the trouble to do that. And in my head they're on the Muppet Show.
I don't assume they're on the Muppet Show, but I think like it's a very similar theater where I wouldn't have been surprised if Statler and Waldorf were off to the side. But I don't want to see them heckle Snuffy.
Oh, no, Snuffy couldn't take it.
Big
Bird would be too stupid to understand.
Snuffy would run away forever.
But Snuffy would legitimately disappear, yeah. And then we get the crossover event of like the whole history of Sesame Street. It's amazing.
Expand, please.
Because the Yip Yip aliens meet reporter Kermit.
Oh, okay. I thought for some reason Old MacDonald was like this person you were waiting to.
No, when that spaceship lands at the end, I'm like, it's got to be, come on, it's got to be the Yip Yip guys.
Yeah.
Right? It's got to be them.
Which there's also something I didn't mention earlier. There's an episode in season 16 where the Martians come in and create chaos for Big Bird because they keep going around and messing things up on Sesame Street. And Big Bird knows it's them. He sees them do it. But then they leave and people come in and are like, Big Bird, what'd you do?
No.
And he's like, no,
Bird.
it was aliens. And they're like, God, we already have this whole Snuffy thing. And now you're trying to tell us there's aliens?
We met R2-D2 and C3PO.
That is true.
There aliens exist in
well,
this universe.
droids from space exist.
I suppose.
Living creatures, maybe not. But yes, we do have Old MacDonald, and I wrote down Richard Hunt is having a hell of a time playing a Scottish farmer here.
I love that.
We also do have Kermit when he's first there at the farm, sees a pig and says, hey, you remind me of somebody. But Old MacDonald is here to tell Kermit that he saw a spaceship with a whoosh whoosh here and a whoosh whoosh there. And then Kermit, after being told it's a red upside down disc that was flying around, sees a dog carrying a Frisbee and goes, you idiot.
So mad.
It was a Frisbee.
And then at one point, Old MacDonald like storms off and Kermit's like, yeah, E-I-E-I-O. Said in like the, like, fuck you.
F you. I do like though in that exchange though, like, and on that farm he had a Frisbee? Like, that's nothing.
That's nothing. That's not worth me coming all the way out here with my camera crew.
But in the end, an actual spaceship does come in and land with the Martians inside, who come out, see Kermit, and go, E.T.? Because E.T. is so much in the public consciousness at this point that everything...
We can't go a single episode without E.T. being mentioned.
Yeah. And then we get Smokey Robinson being attacked by a large letter U. And this, for the most part, was very enjoyable.
What was wrong with it?
Well, when he starts off singing like, I don't like you, but I love you. And all of a sudden the giant U comes in from the side. You're like, ha ha, I get it.
Yeah.
But then when it gets into the, you really got a hold on me, and the U just starts grabbing him.
And like picking him up and carrying him around.
Yeah, I
love that.
It just seemed like it would have been one of those things that whoever was like, whose ever arms was in the U was having a lot of fun, and Smokey was like, okay, we're doing this.
I thought he did extremely well. And he like, what made me think like, oh, he's totally all in on this is like when he's running around and he does like the high knee, like run, like goofy cartoon run around.
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
I feel like it's one of those things where maybe in rehearsal, they just went a little less aggressive with their groping of him. And when they were actually filming it, it was a little bit more of like, all right, calm down. It's sort of like when we think about when a Muppet's sitting on like somebody's lap or something, or it's like Madeline Kahn or that. You're like, that's just Frank Oz's arm lying in the lap of Madeline Kahn.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess it is easy to forget that there's
human hands in there.
Sinew and muscle lifting you up.
Yeah. Like he's feeling forearms against his hips as that U is grabbing him.
Yeah. A man in a black bodysuit.
With a giant letter U on the front of him.
Okay, I guess that you're right.
That'd be a good Halloween costume.
It would be, yeah.
And then it's time for Cookie Monster to spend some time staying over with Ernie because Bert is visiting his grandmother. So Cookie Monster apparently had nowhere to live.
Yeah.
And saw his opportunity.
Any bed he can get.
But he gets to annoy the annoyer in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps Ernie up at night instead of how Ernie would normally keep Bert up at night.
It really sheds a light on that Ernie is genuinely fucking with Bert. Ernie is not one of these guys who is stupid. Ernie is just malicious.
That is true. Yeah, there's a very clear example of that a little bit later in this best of season 16 playlist when they go to the movies.
Yeah, he's such a jerk in that one.
But in this, he's trying to comfort Cookie Monster, but it's just like he says to him, "The only monster in here is you," and he laughs. And Cookie Monster goes, "Me see no humor in this."
Yeah, the concept of him being scared of a monster loses its teeth a little bit when everything in this is a monster.
And he literally devours Christmas trees for fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you are maybe one of the most powerful and horrifying forces on the planet Earth.
But turns out it was just a blanket in the corner. And then later on in the same episode of Sesame Street, they would have cut to Cookie Monster still sleeping over.
Yeah, it's a weird cut in the thing. It took me a minute to figure out what the heck was going on.
Yeah, and the best of playlist, somebody just put these back to back, but obviously in the actual episode they would have been spaced out. And this one is Cookie Monster having a nightmare, dreaming of flying cookies that he cannot catch. Just like slightly menacing flying cookies. So much so that when he wakes up, Ernie tries to make him feel better by bringing him a cookie, and we get Cookie Monster yelling, "No cookies!" And then runs through the wall, leaving a Cookie Monster-shaped hole.
Then Ernie walks up to the hole and he's like, I can't believe Cookie Monster would be afraid of cookies. And Cookie Monster comes back and says, yeah, me either. And eats all the cookies.
Yeah. He's like, you're right. That is a crazy concept. And then we are introduced to our new favorite band here on Commitment, How Now Brown and the Moo Wave.
Really top-notch name.
They're singing Danger's No Stranger, which is like the one thing about How Now Brown and the Moo Wave, they're not educational.
I don't even know if they could be anti-educational in a way. I don't know. What they're singing about in this song is so confusing that at first it seems like they're singing about stranger danger, which I was kind of like, weird, kind of a weird thing to teach on Sesame Street.
Especially in such a non-serious way.
But then it just turns out they're talking about danger. Just the concept of there being dangerous things in the world.
And I would like to read you the list of things they say are dangerous.
Okay.
This is their verse. So don't go slipping on no banana. Don't walk under a falling piano.
This is dangerous to people who live in the 1910s.
The next line is, or spend the winter in Montana.
Hey, wait a minute.
That's us.
I missed that.
And then the next line is, or mention Sherman in Savannah.
Oh my God. What?
That's a Civil War joke, kids. And he quickly pivots because the next line is, don't try to pet a porcupine. So he's like, forget that thing I said about the Civil War.
Look, it's hard to rhyme with piano, okay?
Well, it's like, yeah, it's one of two times we see the word Montana actually used in songs in this batch, because I think Montana just rhymes nicely with other things. But the list of dangerous things, slip on a banana, walk under a piano, winter in Montana, and mentioning Sherman in Savannah is a wild list.
Yeah, and I suppose it's like teaching you to recognize the word danger visually, maybe. But we've had that other band that spelled out the word stop or something like that. Like, if you want kids to know what the word danger looks like and is, there's probably infinite amount of ways you could do it much better than this.
You know, while we're at it, let's talk about their other music video that we watched as well.
Okay.
The Wet Paint music video.
This one I liked way better.
Yes, very good song. 0% educational.
No, not
but
at
amazing.
all. I thought it was going to be... So at first I was like, oh, okay, they teach you about different warning signs you see in the world, and that you shouldn't touch a sign that says wet paint. But they do not teach you that at all.
They don't even teach you what a wet paint sign means and that you should avoid the paint that is wet. You'd think that would be the bare minimum of an educational show singing a song called Wet Paint. But they just sing about wet paint. Yeah. And sing, sock it to me, sock that wet paint to me.
They could be singing about any wet item. Mud, water. So why paint? The guy in the background is playing the piano with his head, which I liked quite a bit.
We see him do that again in the rap thing. I think it's the same guy playing the same piano with his face.
Piano. Yeah, talented guy.
Speaking of, that is our next thing in our best of 16 playlist here. We get Ferlinghetti Donizetti, who is one of the Fat Blue Muppets, which is the pattern name. It's like Mr. Johnson, the guy at the restaurant with Grover. Any puppet that looks like that, they call Fat Blues, although Mr. Johnson is more specifically called Fat Blue when they talk about him. But yeah, he seems like the cooler cousin of Mr. Johnson, the restaurant patron, and looks like a beatnik and is rapping the alphabet. Yeah,
and Grover is, I guess, supposed to be breakdancing.
He's just kind of dancing.
But I didn't like this.
You didn't like it?
I didn't want to see any more of it. It's not a good rap.
It is another one of those when I realized they're doing the entire alphabet, I was like, oh, okay, we're getting the whole thing here.
Yeah, do a little bit extra.
Yeah. Then we have the Girls Just Want to Have Fun parody-ish song of...
It's Girls Just Want to Have Fun plus Kids in America, I think is the other one that it kind of is.
But it's Kids Just Love to Brush by the Bicuspids. And really the only thing to say about this is I really like 80s Muppets when they fully lean into the 80s, because we don't see that as much so far from our Kermit Piggy Muppets. So getting to see the Sesame Street lean hard into the 80s is...
Like kids who are dressed like 80s
right.
kids in a setting that looks like the 80s was interesting. I don't know. It just felt like a pretty legitimate peek into the life of what the 80s was like.
Right.
Which was like, just like any other time. But I love this song because I fucking love brushing my teeth.
This
girl is right. I brush my teeth 3 times a day. I relish it every moment of it.
Do you have a toothbrush suggestion for our audience? Is there like a peak toothbrush that you've like decided it can be no better?
I just use a Sonicare. I don't know if it could be better. I'm sure I could get a $800 toothbrush if I wanted to.
I know if you had done like a lot of research in your life to find the best brushing experience.
Oh, yeah. I've honestly never even thought about it, Matt, but now I will. Now this is my new quest.
Say sorry to ruin your life
because that
and your
does
budget.
Sound interesting. I mean, I have my methods, but
you can start a whole YouTube channel reviewing toothbrushes.
Okay, this is a good idea.
I just set Sam off on a new career path, everyone.
I kind of like that. Toothbrush review. It's going to be expensive.
But, you know, that's how you make some extra dough is you auction off the toothbrushes after you've used them.
Okay. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Someone could clone me.
If they wanted to. And they'll make their own toothbrush review channel with new Sam.
With new Sam. With baby Sam. Sam babies.
Well, we'll think of a clever name for your toothbrush channel later. For now, we need to watch Maria and Luis ballroom dance and sing about the word hola.
Yeah, I loved it.
They also mention Montana. This is the song where they mention it, I guess just because it rhymes easily.
I missed that again.
And then Bert and Ernie go to the movies. There's some weird random old looking Muppets in this theater.
Yeah, there's monsters, like old monsters.
They remind me of like Beautiful Day Monster. And also, do you remember Anki, the Encore frozen meal Muppet? You hated him.
Oh, yes, I do.
He was like in a grocery cart, shopping cart scenario and just kind of looked gross. But they kind of had an Anki vibe to them. But Ernie spills popcorn on Bert as they're finding their seats. And then they watch The Picnic, which is Maria as Charlie Chaplin and Linda on a date, on a picnic. Which is something that I feel like if they did today, someone would be annoyed.
Someone would make a 4-hour podcast about how
Ron DeSantis would be canceling Sesame Street because two women were on a date and one of them was dressed like Charlie Chaplin and he was a man, if you forgot.
It's so funny sorry, bringing up Ron DeSantis, that he was like, Disney, I've moved on. Disney should just drop this case. That's so
Someone
ridiculous.
the other day said Ron DeSantis looks like if Montana Max grew up.
Oh my God, he really
that's spot on.
does. Whoa. Okay.
But yeah, it's unfortunate that the world has tainted me in this way where like I'm watching this lovely sketch where they're having this nice little picnic with Bert and Ernie watching. And the first thing I think of is like, there'd be a parent boycotting this.
Yeah. And you know, I don't think the world is all that different as it's ever been. So I bet some parent saw that and was like, what?
They were just quieter. They didn't have the internet.
They couldn't get on X and start Xing about it.
Well, at the end, we learn that Ernie's favorite part of the movie was when he spilled popcorn all over Bert.
Purposefully spilled popcorn all over Bert.
Yeah, which goes back to your theory of him being
He's
annoying
malicious.
on purpose. Yeah, malicious. And then we wrap it up with cows and Kermit dancing the doo-wop hop.
Why are there cows there?
Great question. I think just because they're good backup singers.
Yeah. Are they the How Now Brown cows?
I don't know.
The intent?
I think there's like a lot of generic cows doing a lot of things on
That's
Sesame Street. So I think they're just kind of there hanging out.
Because this is also kind of a new wavy song, though.
Yeah. And we get a lot of good hopping from Jim.
Yeah.
Just a lot of Kermit just going, huh, like very quickly out of frame, which like Jim wouldn't have had to move that far to make it look like that.
But it really looks like he's going boing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good job, Jim.
And then at the end, they toss Kermit's corpse around.
Yeah, there's like some slow motion puppet tossing at the end. It's supposed to be presumably Kermit sort of jumping on a trampoline kind of style.
And stuff,
But because it's slow motion, you really have a lot of time to focus in on the fact that that's just a puppet.
That's just Kermit's dead eyes. And I believe he sometimes rotates to the camera so you can see up his butthole.
Yeah, it seems like maybe it's hard to tell in the quality that we watched. It's definitely a less clear puppet hole than we've seen on some puppets. Like sometimes you can see like the sleeve that goes down the wrist of the Jim hanging out of the bottom of a puppet. You don't see that.
No.
If anything, there's maybe just a little bit of a hole. So maybe even more upsetting.
Yeah, because exactly. It's hidden. It's trying to hide.
Yeah, you should be wearing pants. Then we watched some brief clips of David and Elmo playing on a computer from episode 2026. We're getting into the numbers of episodes that it becomes hard to Google.
Yeah.
Because when I search, like 1984 episode Sesame Street, what I might want is the episode 1984. And what internet serves me is episodes from 1984.
Yeah.
And that's hard to cross over with.
Muppet Wiki generally knows what you're trying to talk about, though.
Yeah. Thanks, Muppet Wiki. But the backstory behind this is that on November 26th, 1984, after taping episode 2037, so again, they're a little out of order, Richard Hunt came into the studio's Muppet green room and tossed the Elmo puppet to Kevin Clash, asking him what he could get out of it. Other stories include him saying, "You do this fucking thing." So there's various versions of this story out there, but they all seem to agree that Richard Hunt tossed the Elmo puppet to Kevin Clash.
Elmo in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and was like, I just can't anymore, so you figure this thing out. And that same day, they went and taped the segments for episode 2026.
Oh, wow.
When Kevin Clash first performed Elmo.
Oh, so this is his first performance as
Yes.
Elmo. Oh.
This
I
is
thought it
his
was just a
very
scene.
first. Yeah. So after this first time, he would go on to perform Elmo for the remaining material they would film that year. But because of that, they recorded, obviously, episode 2037 when Richard Hunt yelled about it. And then it was 2026 they filmed this. So there's definitely some crossover back and forth of Elmo still being performed by Richard Hunt later on in season 16. But I think by season 17, we will have a fully Kevin Clash Elmo. I think it's interesting now that Elmo has been around for several years at this point, and we don't see him in the episodes we watch or the best of playlists that we've been handed.
Yeah.
And so I think once he starts showing up in those is when we'll start to understand a little bit more of, okay, Elmo's becoming a part of this show. Like as soon as he's in the episodes, like season premieres and random episodes we pick, because he is inescapable, is when we'll start to see the rise of Elmo.
Right. Well, Tickle Me Elmo wasn't even until 2006 or 1996.
Yeah.
So we might got a while.
Yeah. But we shall see. Well, the last thing we watched this week was the episode 2089 from May 9th, 1985. And we start off with what I think is a world-changing view of Sesame Street. So we're sitting over by Oscar's trash can, a group of people has gathered, but we're looking off to the right of Oscar's trash can. Now, you look to the left of Oscar's trash can, and you see 123 Sesame, you see Mr. Hooper's store, all that
You see a
stuff.
stoop that's perfect for an audience of people to sit on and listen to a story.
Yes, right next to Oscar.
I imagine they must have tried that and just the blocking didn't work somehow.
Yeah. So to the right, these people have gathered, and we're looking at a backdrop behind these people, and it's a very large, normal New York-looking street.
Mm-hmm.
And something about that doesn't sit right with me.
No, me either. It just seems like Sesame Street is... I mean, cars drive into it. It's not a through street, though.
No, to me, it's a cul-de-sac that's like tucked away. You have to make like 8 weird random turns to find this cul-de-sac.
In an alley. Kind of situation, yeah.
Very enclosed, very cut off from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, we see that Sesame Street extends very far in the distance.
Infinitely, yeah.
With a bunch of apartment buildings and businesses. So the idea is that there's a bunch of other people just doing things over there.
Yeah.
That we don't get to interact with.
That's
and they
the
look at
weird
that.
end of,
Yeah.
the weird end of Sesame Street down there. We don't
They
go
see
down
where the
there.
road turns and they're like, oh, don't go down there.
Yeah, you don't want to.
There's a giant bird. Like, no. Like, really big.
There's a fucking vampire down there.
But it was upsetting to me in a way to imagine Sesame Street being that normal of a street.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't like it. And that clear of a matte painting, too, was also just kind of like...
They are like 2 feet in front of a painting. They didn't even try to really sell it.
Yeah. I think if I were the producer, I think I would have just tried really hard to get the camera on the normal side of the Oscar situation. But there must have been some reason. I'd love to know why.
Yeah. Or maybe they wanted to show off that Sesame Street was a bigger
matte
street.
painting. Yeah. Could be.
But Oscar has gathered Bob, Gordon, Susan, Telly, and some random kids to tell them a story that he apparently promised to tell them of the first day he ever came to Sesame Street. Because apparently Oscar didn't always live in this neighborhood and didn't always have a trash can. So we get the biggest, most important part of this episode are these sepia-toned flashbacks of Oscar telling the story of how he came to live on Sesame Street and the way he currently does. And I know why they wouldn't, but I kind of wish he was his old shitty orange puppet in the flashbacks.
That would have been fun. I think it was funny that he's got like his hair combed and he looks like he's from like the 20s or something. And I was like, oh, he's lived here a long time. And then Gordon and Susan walk up and they're just like, just modern day.
It looks like it happened really, 2 days ago.
They're not even dressed like from the 70s or anything like that.
That was I think, obviously, again, this sort of gets into that idea of Muppet canon. What does it mean? But this really flies in the face of things we have actually seen because Gordon's the first person he meets. And this is, of course, 3 Gordons later.
Yeah.
This is the 4th Gordon that Oscar has hung out with.
Yeah.
If you include the pilot episode, Gordon. So
The poor man who had to chase the turtle under the Sesame Street set.
We gotta go. That turtle is running away.
Yeah.
And Oscar makes fun of Gordon's bald head,
Yeah.
which the other
Can I help
Gordons
you?
didn't
Yeah.
have.
Put a hat on. The light shining off your head hurts my eyes. Great start.
It's
And I
just
love
very
how
interesting.
Gordon is like, oh, yeah, well, fuck you too, buddy.
You look like a green mop.
Yeah.
Which is when I was like disappointed because I was like, oh, okay, it's sepia tone. There's a chance he could be orange.
Yeah.
And then he says he looks like a green mop, and I was like, I guess he's not orange.
Yeah. We're forgetting the he grew mold on himself backstory.
Yeah. Well, I think another correlation that we've talked about before is like Simpsons flashbacks
Yeah.
when they have to retcon their own past pretty regularly because they are moving into the future but not aging.
Yeah.
It's just like, like technically Oscar could say, yeah, back in 1968, I came to Sesame Street and met Gordon. You had a lot more hair back then,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And they could have tried to tie it into the actual history of Sesame Street, but instead they just kind of make this amorphous time that never existed.
It's also funny to hear the story of how somebody got to somewhere and to start the story at them getting there.
Well, especially there is no discussion in the actual story of why he came there.
Which
is what they tell us he's going to tell us. Like they say the story is about like why he came to Sesame Street and when.
Yeah.
And the only part we get is not even the when or the why. We get the what happened next.
Yeah. He does get there. The story begins with him getting there and saying,
How'd you get to Sesame Street? Well, I was at Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Can you start a little earlier?
He's already tilted off grouch juice, so there's no way.
Well, and that's like, okay, so the reason I picked this episode is because I obviously hadn't watched it previously, but I had seen the description of Oscar's, like how Oscar came to Sesame Street, and it was like, oh, we have to watch this. It's going to be lore building. And it kind of is, but it also very much isn't.
Yeah. I mean, we get the most lore that we get is his trash can's origin. We actually
Yes,
get
that is true.
much, much more on the origin of the trash can. That specific trash can.
Yeah.
Than anything else that we learn that the trash can, where the trash can was previously, why the trash can is being replaced. It's amazing.
But before we get more of Oscar's story, he wants to keep the people hanging around for the rest of the episode. And we get to see the Count sings Nothing to Count. Because he's trying to imagine animals to count before bed. And he imagines 5 birdies and imagines 5 elephants. And
a great week for the Count. Or a great
very
year
good,
for the
yeah.
Count. Yeah.
A lot of good Count content. I am worried about him falling asleep with so many lit candles around his bed.
Yes, and I was worried about those bird puppets before they faded away, and I realized that they weren't actually there. I don't think they were actually
You thought
there.
they were going to catch fire?
Yeah, because they're getting so close to those candles.
I had to assume they were filmed separately on a blue screen.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 2 of Oscar's story, he tells us how he met Susan. Notably, I will say, we didn't mention this, in the first story about Gordon, at the end, he gives him a can. It's a snake in a can prank.
Yeah.
Which is how he introduces himself as like, I'm going to be an asshole. Get used to it.
Yeah.
But now Oscar is living in a tent made of trashy newspapers.
Yeah.
And once Susan and Gordon, tell him, hey, that's probably not going to work out great for you because weather and cold
Rain
and all this stuff.
such. Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? You're right. Thanks. I'll figure something else out. Hey, Susan, would you like
So funny.
this can of stuff? It's another snake in a can.
Yeah. Susan never believes a word that Gordon says.
Yeah, Gordon's like, Susan, I wouldn't
open that if I were
I
you.
wouldn't do that.
What
You shouldn't do that.
Stupid.
And once again, he keeps the people wanting more. And he's like, I'm going to go relax and drink a glass of grouch juice in my trash can.
What the fuck is grouch juice?
Whiskey?
It doesn't. He says it's cold and spicy, which makes me think that it's ranch water, that fizzy water beverage.
I was thinking more of a cocktail situation. But
Could be. It sounds delicious. I love cold and spicy things. I recently discovered that I think the food I like is the food that Wario would like. Because I love like stinky, tangy, nasty food.
You got a blue cheese buffalo wing vibe to
Yeah,
you?
totally. Whenever Wario's like, I'm going to eat some garlic. I'm like, fuck yeah, I could get down on some garlic too.
You either die the Mario or live long enough to see yourself become the Wario.
Oh no, you're right.
We get a weird cartoon where a horse eats a little O who's talking to him.
Yeah.
before we come back to chapter 3 of Oscar's story. And this time, it's Bob's origin story, I guess, of when he met Oscar.
This is great.
Weirdly
I love
enough,
watching this guy get busted on. I love it.
the weirdest thing, though, is Bob's talking directly to camera in the flashback.
Yeah.
No one
like,
else is
"Hey,
doing that.
I just bought these new garbage cans.
He's
wrong
acting
with
like this
Bob?
is just any other episode of Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Not a flashback to an unknown time in the 60s, presumably. But he's carrying...
Well, maybe he was, he was on something in the 60s.
But he's carrying 2 shiny new trash cans because they're having a cleanup drive on Sesame Street. And as he's talking cheerily about this, Oscar goes, this guy's going to be the worst yet.
Yeah, he's right, too.
But Oscar, at this point, is in a waste basket, the kind of, chain link pattern ones that you see on the streets.
Yeah. When Rachel saw that, too, and she's like, he looks so sad and small. And he really did.
Yeah, because we don't often have to see Oscar crammed down inside of his trash can, but this
he's
allows
just
us to...
blobbed on the bottom of it.
We can see right through that and just sadly scrunched down, which turns out is part of the problem because Bob talks about how, the wind's going to blow right through there. You'll have no privacy. Everyone can see you. And Oscar, being the smart man he is, says, well, since you bought those new shiny trash cans, what are you going to do with all the old shitty leaky ones? And that's the end of the story. We imply that the old leaky trash can is what became Oscar's home.
Yep. We get to see only the hints of any of the interesting parts of Oscar's story, which I suppose is in character to Oscar.
Yeah, because we come back and Oscar's like, well, that's the end of my story. And I was like, well, we're only halfway through the episode. There's no way. There's going to be like another twist where somebody goes, what about Big Bird or something?
What
and
about
he's like,
Slimy?
oh, yeah.
What about anything?
But no, that really is the end of his story. And we don't get any more street scenes for the rest of this episode.
It would be, there's a compelling reason that couldn't happen, but to see him meet Big Bird would have been interesting.
But instead, what we get is him tricking Telly with the snakes in a can bit that Susan once again falls for.
That one got me, because it was a thermos this time.
And it's the thermos he's had the entire time saying, this is grouch juice, I promise.
Yeah. And I was really worried about Telly drinking grouch juice because I don't think he should do it.
Would it turn him into a grouch?
I think it would just be disgusting. Or it's booze. Like you said, it's alcoholic.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like kombucha. I bet grouches love kombucha.
A little bit of that stank to it.
Yeah.
And a little bit of that sour where you're like, I guess I'm supposed to enjoy this. We get to see the princess picking a prince where she ends up picking Kermit. Newsflash once again.
Classic. I love that one.
Yeah, it is the first time we saw it since watching the behind the scenes in that German documentary. So watching it again, knowing how Jerry Nelson was like stretched across that set made it more interesting, especially because in the editing of it, you realize he didn't need to do that. They cut between the two enough where it's like, oh, he easily didn't have to stretch.
I bet those guys were all that kind of guy, though, where they're like, I'll just do it this way, the really complicated way.
Then we get a weird little bit where a man, played by John Moschitta Jr. Sorry, John. Don't know how to say your last name. And I couldn't find anybody else saying it reliably on the internet. But he has a baby beginning with the name of every letter of the alphabet, so he rambles it off very quickly. This is notable because this man is the Micro Machines Man.
Oh my good God. That's the Micro Machines Man?
That's the Micro Machines Man, and also the voice of Blur, the Transformer.
Oh,
if you needed a man to talk fast in the 80s, you hired John Moschitta Jr.
I put a mustache on him in my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he doesn't have a mustache, notably, in this Sesame Street bit, so he looks a little different.
That's my guy, the Marshmallow Man, the Micro Machine Man. Wow.
Yeah. Then we get to see Ernie having a cute little moment with a kid named Jason, spelling some at words. Bat, hat, cat. Jim has to do a little bit of improv. He has to direct Jason at one point, being like, step back so everyone can see, because Jason's standing right in front of the words. And then as Ernie goes to read through the words at the end, Jason picks up an R and puts it over the C.
You're messing with the wrong guy here, Jason.
Oh, it was delightful.
Yeah, you're right.
Because Ernie goes, you just turned that cat into a rat. Wow.
And then off camera he said, never have that kid back on.
Oh, I think you're...
No,
I think that was a delightful moment that Jim Henson enjoyed.
If Frank had done it, he would have knocked his block off later. But since a kid did it, he's okay. One of the things that I'm saddest about with Sesame Street is that Jim and Frank don't interact with kids as like they used to.
Yeah.
I miss their presence on the street. I wish they had worked out a way that they could have been there more often.
Yeah, they just got too busy.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, even there's a couple times in this that we get to see, you know, a Jerry Nelson character hang out with a Frank Oz character. And I'm like, oh, these guys are back together again. It's nice to, and it's like, because it happens almost pretty infrequently at this point. I'm
they don't
just
even
like,
see him on Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, it's just, it's nice to have them back together, but it doesn't happen that often. Well, we get to see Bert and Ernie in this episode. Ernie wants to do something exciting, like a birthday party, a circus, or a parade. I love the idea that those are things you could just spontaneously go do. But Bert has an idea that is much more exciting than those things. He's going to show off his bottle cap collection.
He's got, I got to admit, some beautiful bottle caps. I loved the little designs of them.
It made me want to make a replica of this to have in my home.
That's because we're freaking losers.
It wouldn't be that hard, it feels like, to recreate.
No, you just
get a
paint
little
some bottle
corkboard
caps.
and get some bottle caps.
Yeah, and they were really cute.
Getting bottle caps that aren't...
That's a great idea.
Like,
you should sell them on Etsy.
I mean, I saw somebody recently on Muppet Twitter created like sort of a miniature version without, like, not real bottle caps, like a more manageable size that they keep in their house. Whereas like mine would be an actual, 11 by 17 sort of giant corkboard, which then I just have. And I have to put it somewhere, probably in the closet next to my Big Bird feet that I made.
Your shame closet.
Yes, exactly. But I think this is the first time we're seeing Bert's bottle cap collection.
I think so, too.
This is something that will stand the test of time and is still a part of Bert's personality.
Ernie is also, he's so patient with Bert in this. I feel like. He lets him talk to him, even though when he leaves, he reveals that it was even more boring than anything else possibly could have ever been.
But he understands that his friend finds this as exciting as a parade.
Yes.
Because at the end, Bert says, I'm so excited, I better go lie down for a while.
Lie down. Yeah.
We get to see 3 creepy witches trying to make spells and learn the power of cooperation.
Have we seen these guys before?
I don't know. Maybe not in this setting.
Because this is like a first season skit or something like that.
It feels very old and creepy in an old Muppety, Tamanella Grinderfall kind of way.
Yeah.
It feels like an Ed Sullivan Santa Claus Switch type of sketch to me.
Yeah. And Jim, I think
it.
that's Jim's one of them, right? He's
Yeah,
doing some great, when he's like goes to get his pot and he like walks over, he's like, ooh, ooh, ah, 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 ah. He's doing some great Jim work.
It's Jim, Jerry, and Richard. It sounds like Jim, Jerry, and Richard all trying to do their Tamanella impression. And yeah, I'm not really sure if it's teaching cooperation successfully, but that's what they talk about.
Well, it's everybody on a team using their resources to get the job done.
I guess that's true. And the last section of this
Their pact with Satan has expired, I guess. Why aren't their spells working? They need to do some more sacrifices or something.
Well, in the end, don't they end up making chicken noodle soup or something?
They do, which doesn't seem particularly witchy.
No,
that
not
seems
very
like
helpful.
it would be a failure.
But the last sketch we get is On Vacation with Guy Smiley, my favorite dude, on vacation in the jungle.
My favorite dude, and I love to see him out of his context of being like in control. And he's just like, I don't understand. I do the same thing all the time and it works so great. Why ain't I working here?
Yeah, he's there with a fat blue sidekick, played by Richard Hunt with a British accent.
Yeah.
Constantly telling him not to be so loud.
Yeah, I like that little guy.
Yeah. He's just incapable of talking quietly.
Yeah,
is
they see
the
a
bit
rabbit,
here.
and he's like, yeah, that's got to be a rabbit. Gets louder and louder and walks up to the rabbit and is like, it's a rabbit. And then the rabbit screams like a human adult, high-pitched scream.
And no matter how many times he's told to be quieter, he goes, this is as quiet as I ever talk.
It's so delightful. It made him seem like such a real guy.
Well, I also love this idea that this is actual vacation time for Guy Smiley. It's in between seasons of his game shows.
But he still has to make it a game show.
Yes. And he's on vacation and he's like, I think we can make content out of this, guys.
Yeah. He pulls up in a limousine into the middle of the jungle, too.
And then we get to see the same tiger from the Muppet Show, who is called Butch.
Great. I wanna like hug this tiger.
He's
so
been
fluffy
redone
looking.
more recently on Sesame Street. He looks worse.
Yeah.
But original Butch, who we saw
so
on the
good
Muppet
looking.
Show, is a very good looking tiger.
He looks like he smells like an old stuffed animal, you know?
Yeah, from a carnival.
Yeah, like one of those ones that's like stuffed with what?
The very
ones that were stuffed
plasticky
with, like,
styrofoam stuff.
what the fuck were they doing back then?
Like they're too firm, and if you cut it open, it is ruined immediately because it just pours out.
Yeah, weird. Squishy stuff existed back then.
And it was like squeaky a little bit.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
You know.
Probably full of asbestos.
But Butch knows guy. He's not going to eat him. He's going to get his picture taken with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like when he's like snaps the camera off of his neck, this camera strap. It's like, I'm going to take your picture. Very threatening.
But yeah, anything with Guy Smiley, I'm always on board for more of.
I thought it was so funny when Butch said, say tree instead of say cheese. I loved this. I think it made me think that Guy Smiley would be, if you're going to make a Sesame Street movie, you could make a good Guy Smiley movie where he's like thrust out of his, it's like similar to this. He has to engage with the real world and he's just too excited about everything.
It would just be, if you extended this, it'd be Ace Ventura 2.
That's true. I guess it kind of is like the Electric Mayhem TV show where it's like these people engaging with the real world and they're way too excited about everything. But I could see him, it would be like Anchorman, but with Guy Smiley. And he's like,
just have Guy Smiley and the Muppet Newsman show up at the big fight in Anchorman.
That would have been great. Oh, and I was thinking about What We Do in the Shadows. I think, you know how they have the vampiric council? Like every season. Do you watch that show?
I have, yeah.
The Count would totally make sense as somebody who would show up like in the little computer screen. That would not be out of hand at all, I don't think.
No. But rounding out this episode of Sesame Street and our episode about Sesame Street, we get Telly asking Oscar, is that really how you came to live on Sesame Street? And Oscar says, no, that's a completely different story that he refuses to tell Telly.
He's got a, how do you think I got these scars kind of moment. He's the Joker.
So, did Gordon, Bob, and Susan just misremember what happened and they just take Oscar at face value?
They just went along with it?
Yeah.
No, Oscar just doesn't know what the hell he's talking. He's drank too much grouch juice at this point. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I didn't understand what the intent was there because we have clearly seen them corroborate his story in
That's
real
the thing
time.
is, like, if he was just telling this to Telly and they weren't there to verify these things, we could buy it. But because they were there, like, yeah, I remember that. And you're like, wait, but now you're saying that's not the truth? What are they covering up? Why did you come to Sesame Street, Oscar? Are you on the run from the feds?
This could be the intent of Oscar in this moment.
Is this a witness protection cul-de-sac?
That's why there's the big matte painting. It's just like, yeah.
Maybe it's a Truman Show situation.
Yep, it's a prison of some sort.
Well, maybe we'll find out in season 17 when we talk about that in January. But for now, it's time for our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is Gladys, the other better Gladys. Last time we did Muppet of the Week, it was about the terrible luncheon counter Gladys from the Muppet Show. This time, it's about the Gladys who, according to Muppet Wiki, is the most famous of Sesame Street's many cows. Gladys is a beige and white cow with a very fancy speaking voice most of the time. The same voice that Richard Hunt would use for any cow he ever puppeteered on the Muppet Show.
Yeah. It is such a weird association. Like, why?
And I'll continue to read from Muppet Wiki here because it's very specific and well worded. It says, she is a rather self-obsessed bovine, aspiring to be a big star in acting, dancing, or singing, and has frequently been known to imitate or pretend to be other animals. Which we have seen her pretend to be a horse in the past, and then later on sing a song about how she's proud to be a cow, which is apparently her, biggest hit. I'm not sure who determines that. I don't think Billboard was involved, but that was what Muppet Wiki said is her best song.
Coming in at number one with a bullet, Gladys with I'm Proud to Be a Cow.
And Gladys debuted in 1972, where she first appeared as a generic cow in season 4. It would take a few seasons until she got her personality, and a couple more seasons until she had her name. So it took about 5 seasons in total, I think, for her to go through the full trajectory from random cow to the Gladys we know and love. But Gladys is still around, as recently as back in March on Sesame Street in season 53.
That, of all of the Muppets to still be around, that is mind-blowing.
Right? Like, you understand Elmo, Big Bird, Cookie Monster, they're all still around. But Gladys the cow, still kicking.
In a world where we haven't seen, like, Forgetful Jones or whatever in a million years.
Well, I think this is notable to point out here as part of this. There was a gap. So, Richard Hunt, obviously the performer behind Gladys from 1972 until his death in 1992. And after that, Gladys was initially retired from the show. They were like, you know what? I'm not going to do Gladys.
Yeah.
And then in 2003, they decided, you know what? Bring her back.
She's back, baby.
Yeah. And since then, Gladys has been sort of a staple again. Not super consistent, but always kind of around when they need a good cow. And Jennifer Barnhart has been the performer behind Gladys since 2003. So a solid 20 years.
Wow.
Which, is the same length of time that Richard did it. So, wild to think that both of them have done Gladys now for 20 years.
And she is Zoe now as well.
Correct. Yeah. She's got a handful of characters.
Okay.
And these days, Gladys is back and has a refreshed-looking puppet. For a while, they were still using the exposed foam-looking Gladys from the old days. Mm-hmm. But as we've seen in the past with other Muppets, exposed foam doesn't age too well, discolors, deforms a little bit. And so now there's a fully fleece-covered, shiny, new-looking Gladys even as, like I said, as recently as March, was pretending to be a cat. So still also leaning into the pretending to be other animals thing. But unfortunately, unless we watch every episode of Sesame Street, that's as much as there is to learn about Gladys for right now. So, what would you rate Gladys the cow?
I think Gladys is hilarious. I love Gladys. I have no idea why.
Honestly, I think it's all Richard Hunt.
Richard Hunt's great. I think he is. I don't know. They're all great, but he's just so funny, I think.
I think there's something to him and Jerry Nelson both on Sesame Street get to play so much more because
I love that.
Neither one of them have to worry about the business side of things. They just want to be puppeteers and do fun puppeteering, and they're not worried necessarily about their outside ventures of like, well, how do I keep this business afloat with its merchandising, et cetera? And it's just like, I just get to be a fun cow sometimes.
I don't have to go to London and Germany and England and Canada and America all in 1 week. I can just be in New York and be a cow and scream for a while. And they're the B team, I think it's fair to say. But also, they're having a hell of a lot of fun on Sesame Street.
I think they've earned their way into the A team at this point. I feel like especially because there's a lot more.
They're the B team of the A team.
All right. The best of the rest. But there is a whole other team of puppeteers at this point on Sesame Street who are also there, who we have not named by name most of the time.
That's true.
Which I think right, and not in a degrading way, but in a we have the Muppet Show main 4 or 5 puppeteers, and there's a lot of people below that haven't really broken through yet. Yeah,
and I just think the Sesame Street has the purest heart of the Muppets in it, and I think that they just are they just keep that going, and it's great. And Gladys is part of that, and so freaking funny. I'm gonna give her a 10. I love Gladys.
Wow, I gave it 8.
She's one of my favorite Muppets.
And I thought that was generous, but
she just cracks me up every time I see her.
I agree. I love her, but I think because I only know this much about her, I give her an 8. But still, high praise. I think Gladys is one of the best Muppets.
There are also many moments where I think I wish there was some way I could put on the Matrix headset and watch all of Sesame Street in a millisecond.
Just download I do want to see
all of it because it's so much puppetry left on the table. But I would die and I would end up 6 feet under the ground if we had to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun at all. Well, Sam, aside from hours and hours of Sesame Street to watch this week, did you have time to watch any non-Muppet things?
Yeah, we started watching the new season of Only Murders in the Building, a show that I don't run hot and cold on, but I gotta watch it. This season, I'm gonna solve the mystery. That's my goal. I don't love that show. I like this season actually a lot better.
The season is a lot better than last season so far.
I like how dark it is. It's so much more serious and much more sad, which I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
But I've been writing down all the clues I noticed. I've been trying to figure it out because I'm also watching the
Fool's Errand. I think, Sam.
I don't think so. I think it's gonna work. I've been watching the After Party too. Do you watch that show ever?
I watched the first episode
of the new season or ever. Okay. So that one is a mystery show too. And then I looked at their Reddit the other day and there were people who were like, oh, I finally cracked the cipher in episode 3. I finally figured out what the flower puzzle and I've fucking watched every episode of this. And even after knowing that these things exist, I'm still watching being like, huh? Where on earth
I think After Party is built to be more solvable along the way.
Yeah.
I feel like, at least, maybe I feel burned by last season, But I feel like Only Murders in the Building in like the last episode of the season will just be like, and here's why all of that makes sense. And you're like,
Yeah.
but none of that lines up with
Yeah.
anything you set up. And they're like, yeah, but that's just our show.
That's kind of part of what I'm curious to see if that happens.
Last
what made me start
season
doing
was
it
just a bummer, I think, because of that. Like there was just so much
Yeah.
nonsensical plot
That's true.
points where it's just like, oh, sure. I guess the podcast fans can be part of this plot line now.
Oh, I hated them.
Yeah.
Anyway, what about you? Have you done anything?
I'm starting to rewatch Doctor Who again. So
because is the new stuff coming out soon, or has it already?
yeah, it's starting to come out soon. And I also haven't watched the last like 6 seasons or something. Like maybe not that many, but like I need to catch up before I can watch the new stuff. So
Yeah, I need to catch up. The previous season I would like to have watched, and I'm excited to watch the new season.
yeah, I fell off during Peter
really
Capaldi era.
Yeah, me too. Even though I really liked him,
Yeah.
I still was just like, meh.
The stories just weren't that entertaining, I thought, and so I fell
Yeah.
off. So I'm trying to, right now we're back into David Tennant years, trying to catch up as fast as we can, but we still have a lot to go.
There's a lot, and then sometimes it's just like, oh, more zombies, huh? Okay, I guess I'll watch this hour-long episode.
They are very long. So before we go, we want to let you know what we'll be watching next time, and next time we're headed to 1985.
The distant future.
And back down to Fraggle Rock as well, as we start
Okay.
to watch and discuss Season 3 with the first 3 episodes titled The Bells of Fraggle Rock, Red Handed and the Invisible Thief, and Uber and the Glob.
I feel like he's going to fall in love with the glob. That's my guess.
But that's not all, because we'll also discuss a few other Muppet appearances from 1985, including another National Wildlife Federation PSA, a short interview with Jim, and a performance by Miss Piggy and Anne Murray.
Oh, wow. I'm so excited to see the Fraggles again.
Yeah, it'll be very nice to get back to some actual puppets away from our animated friends. But before we go, we want to thank Tuna, our friend. I said that backwards, but you know who you are, Tuna. Thanks, buddy, for making our music for this podcast. And Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitmentstuff.com to get all your commitment merch, or just commitment.com if you want to listen to episodes, see our lovely faces, and send us a message.
And you can get to the merch from there, too.
That's true. Right now, there's a big old banner you can just click, and it'll take you straight to it. You can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you have any questions or links to unseen Muppet things. You can follow this podcast everywhere on all the social medias at Commitment Pod. That's where we'll post links to where you can watch the things that we watch whenever there is actually a link. And you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.